Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Maples, and welcome back to The Myth Within. For the last few days, we've been exploring the fable by Aesop, The Northwind and the Sun, and we've really began to explore the dynamics of the father archetype as it relates to the negative and positive polarities common to this image of the father. And so today we're going to switch gears a little bit and not really talk about the theory behind the symbolism of the father, but talk about the practical application of this as it relates to being positive fathers in our children's lives. A lot of times, especially in traditional media culture, fathers are really shown to be a very aloof character. Sort of bumbling over themselves in a lot of different shows, and the way that this is portrayed in popular culture, whether it be from Disney films or whatnot, really presents sort of a one-sided picture of this idea about fatherhood. Being a father myself and also practicing in the field of psychology, I see a diversion present between what is being portrayed in popular media versus what is the reality of a father's duties to their children, to the children that they create and ultimately raise. And I think there's an absence of this culturally in America and quite possibly the world, as it relates to this idea of moral commandment, prohibition, and the two common themes that Jung talked about with the father archetype, but also this all-loving and all-encompassing image of the son that we get in this story. And so part of what we're going to take a look today is really the practical application of how these things relate in story to our day-to-day operations of being good men, of being good parents. And I'm speaking here towards men solely because the myth, it has this idea of this father archetypal presence. But this is not just for men, because even all children are born with fathers. They may not have them in their life, but a father was present in the act of creation. And this is true for girls as well as boys. And just as girls have some of this archetypal masculine flowing through them, boys also have the archetypal feminine of flowing through them as it relates to the experiences they had with their mother. And so there's always sort of a transitional element present, how these archetypes pull us into learning specific roles as it relates to our maturational journey towards our self-realization. And so when it comes to the father element here, we're faced with this bellowing wind. He's screaming, he's howling, he's trying to rip the cloak from the traveler. And have you ever had an experience like this with the father? The father who would yell, the father who would reprimand. These things could cut to the core, and quite often in myths, they do cut to the core. But they cut to the core as a means to teach an essence of morality. What is right? What is wrong? And even though the wind may come about this in a negative fashion, trying to rip the cloak or rip the foundation from the traveler, who in this case is a child of the world, nevertheless, it hits at that element of trying to promote what is foundationally good, what is foundationally right and moral, to help that person realize, in this story, to realize the warmth of the sun, the warmth of where this perspective is coming from. I think we've all had a process where a father has shown moral commandment and or prohibition, and this is a very common theme in myths as it relates to fatherhood in general. There's an aspect or an element of laying down law. What is order? What is just? And there's also an element of what you have to do to toe the line, to prohibit yourself to become a person of good standing, a person of good character. And the wind is trying to win the bet in this, and he's doing it really from the ideal of excited energy, of howling and pushing and blowing the cloak about. And the traveler doesn't want to get rid of this, because if he gets rid of this, he ends up shedding a piece of his skin. He sheds a piece of himself. And within that, there has to be a degree of comfort and warmth. And so Robert Bly once spoke of this aspect of engaging the mature masculine, engaging the rites of initiation. And in his book, Iron John, he really explores adolescent initiation of boys as an introduction into what it is to come from a degree of warmth, to have this nurturing masculine aspect give a rebirth perspective. And I think we see the themes of this element come out in the sun here. When we're dealing with children from a fatherhood perspective, we may be looking at the right and the wrong, the rules, the good, the bad, the laying down of moral commandment. Sometimes even mothers will be guilty of saying, just wait till your father comes home. I know I caught that a lot when I was a kid. Was I troubled? Maybe a little. But did I have good intent? Absolutely. So like the traveler here in our story, it's hard to get rid of that cloak. But we do, not in the essence of being yelled at or the stress caused from the bellowing of the winds, but really in the warm degree of that welcoming masculine that says, you know what, there's a world out here that could be seen not so cold. Take off your cloak, sit under the tree, welcome a day's breeze to reflect. Because it's in this reflection that we ultimately begin to look at the elements of our dreams that are pushing us forward. This was a little bit of exploration as it relates to the father archetype, the sun, the wind, the dual nature of this being as it comes out in really a lived experience. We'll continue our exploration of fatherhood tomorrow, as I have a wonderful, wonderful quote about the earth and the sun to give you. I look forward to hearing your commentary. If you have questions, I'm more than willing to answer them in my next podcast. And until our next journey, my friends, namaste. May blessings find you as you advance confidently in the direction of your dreams. Thank you.